Hello, this is Hawkeye, and I welcome you to Hawkeye's House of Horrors. And this is going to be a great day for me. I'm going to bring for you guys out there my top science fiction fantasy film of 1981. Certainly, it's more in the fantasy realm. It's a film set in a post apocalyptic future, and that is Mad Max 2, or Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior, or The Road Warrior. I knew it under the title The Road Warrior. I didn't have enough R's. I don't know where they all went, but Mad Max 2 is generally what it's known throughout the world, so maybe that's the best title to give it. My apologies out there if that's what you know it. I might call it The Road Warrior as I do this. I got it on DVD, in fact, right here. Saw it again. Man, I still love this film. It's I think I'm ready for an upgrade. I want to see it on Blu-ray or some really good high quality picture. This one's an older version. There's not much more to it. It's just the film, I believe. Um, and it's not the best picture really, but man, it doesn't matter. I was still blown away. I love this film. Now, as I was saying, it's known as Mad Max 2 throughout the world, other than in the United States. Um, I'm going to get to that a little bit later as to why that is. Now, this film was directed by George Miller. He did the original Mad Max, and personally, I would suggest, yeah, go back and watch Mad Max. I will definitely do a review for that at some point. I love that movie too. It's great. But in comparison to this one, it is certainly a different setting. It's definitely futuristic, but society is still there, or it's, you know, as what we know as life, it's, taken a bit of a nosedive, if you will, in the original Mad Max. But this, um, it's not really set up like that, but it's almost like a backstory of a film because I love this film so much, and I this is one of those films that where the sequel is better than the original film. Um, Now, after Mad Max 2 came Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, as well as Mad Max Fury Road, which, my goodness, I love that film too. I can't really decide what's better, that or The Road Warrior. And then there's a new one coming out. It was just released on this Friday. I'm definitely going to go see it in the theaters. Uh, Fuirosa, Mad Max Saga, I think it's what it's called, but it's about a character from Fury Road and her backstory. I don't think Mad Max is in it very much, but that's okay because it's still directed by George Miller. He made all of these films, and they're terrific action. That's where if you're, as old as me going into the video store, that's probably where you would have found all of these movies was in the action section. But it is the setting, um, barren and not a setting that we're accustomed to, that really puts it within the fantasy realm, really. Now, as I said, George Miller directed the original Mad Max, which was his first film. This was his second film, and I gotta say, this is quite an amazing film for somebody's second picture, full length. It's definitely different than the original one, but man, he's learned a lot. He's really taken some strides in between these two films, and he's doing a magnificent job here in Mad Max 2. He had a chance to actually direct First Blood with Sylvester Stallone. Uh, Hollywood reached out to him and said, "Hey, we want you to direct this picture." He turned it down to make this one. And it would have been cool to see George Miller directing First Blood with Stallone, but I'm glad he did to make this. And First Blood was still a really good movie, anyways. Now, this film was produced by Byron Kennedy. He was a producer of the original Mad Max, and as I found out looking into this film and investigating it, seeing what I'm going to talk about with this film, sadly he passed away. He was only 33 years old, way back in 1983, and he died in a helicopter crash. Now, this film is written by Terry Hayes. This was, in fact, his very first screenplay he ever was a part of and wrote. He went on to actually do Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, as well as Payback, another film with Mel Gibson. I'm certainly going to get to him in a moment, playing the uh, Mad Max in these films. George Miller also did part of the screenplay, and Brian Hannon. Um, and when looking him up, he did a lot of shorts in his career, but this was like one of the lone full length features that he did. And it's based on characters from the original Mad Max done by George Miller and Byron Kennedy. They did the screenplay to the original film. Now it was released on this. This is cool. Christmas Eve, 1981. This is definitely not a Christmas film. And looking at how it did at the box office, uh, crowds at that time, it didn't phase them either that this wasn't a Christmas movie. Now I'm trying to get the right numbers here. I'm not sure if I have the right numbers to begin with or if I'm doing the conversion correctly. Um, Looking at Australian money and comparing that to American money back in 1981 and converting that all to today's money and everything like that. Um, Converting it into American money, I believe it was a budget of $4 million back in the day. Now, converting that in today's money, that's $13.8 million. That is not a big budget. When you watch this film, uh, one thing that does blow me away is how much they did with very little budget. It's amazing. Certainly, like the setting, the barren wasteland set in the outback in Australia, that's a big help for or towards that budget. But man, oh man, there's a ton of crashes and explosions and everything going on in this film. So Miller did a fantastic job with the limited budget that he was given. Now, from what I could figure as well, doing the converting, and hopefully I had the right numbers when I was looking it up, it made 36, million dollars at the box office worldwide. When converting that into today's money, that's $124.2 million. Uh, that is an incredible rake in at the box office. That's over 9 times the budget made back on this film. And even if I don't have the right numbers, I know this movie did really well at the box office. This movie has been like once it was released, there were a ton of films in the early '80s and the mid '80s that really ripped this film off, and none of them were should be even said in the same breath as Mad Max 2 and how good of a film they really were. Now, it was Warner Brothers that released this film in the United States. Now, they had seen or knew that Mad Max wasn't a big draw in the United States. So they knew American audiences wouldn't know who Mad Max is if you had a film called Mad Max 2. So they decided to call it The Road Warrior, which personally I think is a really cool title. Now, as well as I was saying, this movie has exceptional action. Uh, Very different film, but another film released in the same year, 1981, that also has an exceptional action. Sorry, is Raiders of the Lost Ark by Steven Spielberg, also released in 1981. One thing I think that's cool, right when you're watching the film, the credits are rolling, and you can hear Mad Max's V8 interceptor, sorry, uh, the engine rumbling on the car as the credits roll. I think that's pretty cool. And right when the film starts, we are thrown into the fire. Really. After a little short narration is given to us, and really that narration, in my mind, is for the American audience to get them to where the rest of the world is in watching Mad Max. Just giving a little backstory of how we are at the place we are within this film. Now, here we have an excellent introduction to the film. We're introduced to both Max, um, which he's very similar to the Mad Max that was at the end of the original film, but he's even more shelled, more grizzled, more harder, a harder man. We're introduced to him as well as the bad guys as well, and the truck or the vehicle that is going to be so crucial in the film by the third act that is going to help Max uh, deliver some gas. Now, I know that sounds like a weird story, and it's one of the complaints really about this film is the story. But I gotta say, when I go see an action film, and really that's what this is, the last thing I really want is a lot of story or to be bombarded with too much story or too much backstory. What you really want is the action. And you really get that in this film here. And you really get it in Fury Road. Um, I will definitely do a review for that film. I've seen it 3 times, I believe. It was released 9 years ago now. That's hard to believe it's been out that long. Um, but what the Road Warrior does here in action, Fury Road just sort of like really turns the dial on it and really blows you away. If you're into action films, it's got to be a must see, that film there, as well, of course, as Mad Max 2. Now, Max is played by Mel Gibson. And I'm not going to get into some of the horrible mistakes that Mel has made in his life. I'm just going to talk about this film. To me, Mel Gibson is Mad Max. Tom Hardy played Mad Max within Fury Road. He does a good job. But Mel Gibson is really good in the role. Great, in fact. Um, all his pain, all his sorrow, all his meaty backstory, once you get to, say, Fury Road, it's all done through Mel Gibson's character that made Mad Max who he was. And as well, this is supposedly Mel Gibson's favorite Mad Max movie, and I wouldn't I wouldn't deny him that. This is his favorite Mad Max movie that he was in. And I read as well, it was George Miller's as well. Now I'm going to find out when doing further reviews, say in Fury Road or the newest one, if that is still the case. I would definitely say, because within Fury Road, Mad Max is certainly still in it, but by a certain point, he's kind of like pushed aside quite a bit. So I would say The Road Warrior is the best Mad Max movie. He's in this all the way. This is a Mad Max movie, where Fury Road is certainly partly a Mad Max movie, but there's more to it than just him going on in that film. So with the bad guys that are introduced at the beginning of the film with Max, we have Wes, played by Vernon Wells. Um, he does really an exceptional job in this role. It really is an extremely memorable bad guy as well as henchman. He's not the the main bad guy, the boss. I'll get to him in a moment as well. He is memorable as well, but Wes is actually almost more memorable. Um, I remember Vernon Wells because I gotta tell you, I when I was a kid, I saw Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, but I never seen any more Mad Max movies until I got into my 20s. I believe I was 21 when I went down to my local Blockbuster and decided to, hey, they got a couple of Mad Max movies. I'll get into those. I like Mel Gibson. I'm not sure why I never got into them before that, but I rented the first Mad Max films from my Blockbuster. When I put The Road Warrior in, I was blown away. I just loved that film from the first moment I saw it. But with Vernon Wells, I had known him in other films like Weird Science. He plays a little part in that. He looks very similar to the character that's in The Road Warrior, but I remember him from Commando and Inner Space as well. A couple of other very 80s films as well. Like the dude looked like a serious bad guy. He was perfectly cast to play that role. And for all I know, he may be a very nice guy. Wes, he's very strange. He's very, like a lot of the characters, and good and bad, very animalistic. Um, he's very, as I said, very strange, very scary. A crazy outfit that he wears, and I think he's got like a mohawk as well going on. Um, but anyways, with this film, in my opinion, as I said, one of the main complaints is about the story. But when I look at the story, there are no lulls in it. I think it's very well written, and there are some very good characters in there as well that are all different than each other. So I'm going to get into the story now. I'll try and get through that quickly. Um, and then I'll get into my likes and loves about this film. So, anyways, the story. Max runs into this dude who is on a gyro, played very well by Bruce Spence. I liked his character a lot. He's really tall and he's really, really skinny. That works really well with Mel Gibson, who I didn't realize when I was looking all this stuff up. Mel Gibson is only 5'9". I thought he was like, I don't know, maybe 6 feet. No, he's 5'9". He's not that tall, really. But anyways, this Bruce Spence, he directs Max to where he can land thousands of gallons of gasoline in order to save his life. Because really, he was going to kill Max himself, but Max turns the tables on him. Now, this captain is interesting. More about him now, um, because as a viewer, he's very intricate to the story, and I feel sorry for him at times. And then at other times, he gets what he deserves, and Max always gets the better out of him in each situation that they're in. But he's a wonderful comic character. Um, and is very much needed within this crazy post-apocalyptic future that we're in, um, and his and that character. I really enjoy it. Now, when they find um, this settlement where he can get this gas, Max sits and waits, waiting to make his move. But then he sees a group coming from another settlement, I believe a couple miles away. Um, but they're stopped by this horrible band of monsters. Um, they're then murdered and raped, and is certainly at this point you know who the bad guys are. It's pretty well plain as day. These are horrible, horrible people. Now, as a viewer, this is when I certainly on my first watch, I was really enjoying it up till then. But now I am invested in this film. I'm invested to see Max save the day, see Max exact some revenge for these horrible actions. But it's not that easy. And Max isn't that easy of a character. He's rather selfish. All he wants is gasoline. He sees this and works out a plan so that he can get gasoline. And in this story as well, gas is like gold. That's really these two settlements. That's all that matters is gas. They want to get their hands on the gasoline. That's all that matters in this horrible future. So Max takes this dying man back to this settlement or this camp, and he's told by this man, "Yes, you'll get gas. Just take me back to the settlement." But unfortunately, the man dies, and no gas is given to Max. Rather, he is handcuffed and treated like a prisoner. Now, one thing you would notice as well when watching the film is the good guys are generally dressed in white and gray, very light on the eyes, where the bad guys are dressed in black or very dark clothing. Max is actually dressed like a bad guy. So that's really interesting as well. So the bad guys show up, and with this leader named Humongous leading the way, played by Shell Nielsen, and he is aptly named. He is a big man, very big. I would be calling him Sir all the time. Very big. And also, this was before Friday the 13th, Part 3. So, him wearing a goalie mask, a hockey goalie mask, was actually quite original at that time, as Friday the 13th, Part 3 came out a year prior. So, he's telling this gang of good people to just leave. Leave and just leave the gasoline. We will give you safe passage and you can leave. And in return, a lot of the members of the gang are ready to quit, ready to just do what he says and go. Our lives will be saved. I'm going to try a Australian accent here. I love this line. This one is when Mel pipes up and says, 2 days ago, I saw a vehicle that would haul that tanker. You want to get out of here? You talk to me. As I said, I love that line, and it is an excellent shot with, like, I believe it was a slow zoom in on Max as he's saying these lines. Um, in the end, then, so that's what they're going to do. They're going to haul this gas. We're going to go for it, get past this gang, and go to your paradise. They want to go up north. There's this paradise that they need to. They're wanting to get to. So that leads towards really the last 10 to 15 minutes of the film, which to me, it's certainly doused a little in watching Fury Road quite a bit actually because of the action in that film. But in the end, it is still a rip snorting, adrenaline pumping chase to freedom, to this promised land that they're wanting to get to. And to not allow these bad guys to get their hands on this tanker of gas. And then as well, there's an interesting partnership. One of the characters within the gang of the good people is the feral kid, played by Email Minty. Uh, Him and Max, it's that relationship they have. And yeah, I find this kid absolutely, he's looking up to Max. He's really looking up to him, wanting to impress him, and wanting a friendship, and looking up to him like he is on a mantle. Another character I really enjoyed within this game was the warrior woman. It's interesting how a lot of these characters don't actually have names. But she's played by Virginia Hay, and I believe this was her first film. I love her character because maybe it's because I love action movies, but I think she's a strong female character. She takes no shit, uh, but she's very much a woman. In how she is presented on screen by Hay. There's no second guessing. You know that's a woman, and I think she's a very strong character. She's not a major character. That's really Max and Humongous, um, really. But I still really enjoy her character. Now the music to the film is done by Brian May. No, this isn't the Brian May that was in Queen. This is a different man with the same name. When I was a kid and when I saw this movie for the first and maybe second time, I literally thought it was the same person. And I was like, wow, that's cool. He was in Queen and also made these really great uh, scores for these films. No, that it's not the same person. Um, now, I can tell because May did the score to the original Mad Max as well, and I can tell it's the same man. They're very different films. As in the first film, certainly had a lot more romance going on. I mean, Max was a married man. There is romance in this film, but is very much not a driving force in the film at all. Um, so what I'm trying to say though is there's different feelings, different emotions that are on the screen. So they're not totally the same kind of score, but I found this one is extremely good. I really enjoyed the percussion and the brass, um, and how the music really ratchets up when it's needed to. And it works so well with seeing this really great car chase at the end of the film, as well as the action within the film, and it's really great action. Now, as well, this film has got some really cool and really crazy stunts in this film. There's no CG in this film. This what you see is what you get. That is going on. That is happening. Um, so for all the youngsters out there, that's real. That was captured on film. The like a couple that really stood out to me. There's one where this guy, I think his real name was Guy Norris. He flies off a bike. I believe he crashes into a car. The stunt, I don't think, well, it didn't go as planned. He is then propelled off of his bike and is propelled like spiraling through the air right past the camera in slow motion. He actually broke a femur in his leg on that stunt. Just crazy. As well, there is the tanker going down the road is dragging another vehicle. It's when they try and, well, the one character throws a hook to try and stop the tanker from going down the road, and it causes this vehicle to jump off the road, and it's dragging it down the road. It's crazy. They actually asked the stunt driver to not eat for 12 hours in case they had to rush him into surgery. That's how friggin' dangerous this stunt was, and it looks to be. Now, one of my favorite scenes in the film really sets up the ending car chase, really. And that's with Max setting a trap on his V8 Interceptor um, as the bad guys have got him. He, foolishly thought he could just drive right past them. They've got him. They want his gasoline. He sets a trap and they get over there and kaboom, uh, the car explodes. But also in this scene, and I haven't talked about him yet, Max has a dog. He calls him Dog. That's a great name. But he's got this character dog who is great for Max because he saves his bacon a few times in the film. But it's in this scene, the dog is shot and killed. And it's more pain for Max. And what I see within that scene is really towards the director Miller. The dog is killed off screen, just off screen, just like in the original film, his wife and his child, they're killed just off screen. But it's to me, it's more of an emotional impact than just seeing this gory scene on screen. It's a lot more effective in my mind the way that Miller does that. I also love the shot, and you see it everywhere, of Max on this truck, and he's leaning out the side of the car, and he's got this his sawed-off shotgun in his hand, aimed at this car that's coming down the road. I love that shot. I must say, because I love playing the game Red Dead Redemption 2. Um, uh, Usually on the weekends, but when I play that, I've got a sawed-off shotgun, and I must say, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like Mad Max walking around with that thing. It's pretty cool, I must admit. And I love the twist at the end, how within the tanker is actually sand. The gas is actually on the bus, leading all of the people away to the paradise where they're going to. I really like that twist. And in the end, with Max, and meeting these people and caring for them, um, he decides to stay on the path he's on. He wants no future. He just wants to be the road warrior. He just wants to roam the wastelands, doing what he's doing, which is essentially looking for gas. He he doesn't want any part of anything. So that's a really also really cool ending for that character within this film. As I said, there's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome as well, so he will return. Now, at the end of this film, every time I watch it, and it's a rarity. Not there are certainly other films that do this to me as well, but this is so good that every time I see this, I feel extremely satisfied when I finish watching this film, and that I have watched a really an epic story. And it only runs, I believe, 96 minutes. It's not very long. As I said, like, there's no lulls in the story, so there's no fat in this story at all. Every scene, I believe, there's a purpose behind it, and it connects to the next scene, or it connects to something later in the film, very much so. Now, a few things as well behind the scenes within this film. The dog that was used in the film was actually from a dog pound. He was then trained to act in the film. I thought he did a real good job in it. After the film was done, he was actually adopted by one of the camera operators. So that was really cool. Uh, at the time of this film's release, was the most expensive Australian film shot by that point. Now, the final thing, it's shocking, but it's not shocking. Like, as in, um, making a film. I'm not within the film industry, never have been, but it seems like it's incredibly difficult to make a film now. Um, because as I read with Mad Max 2, when the time started that they sat down to write the screenplay until the theatrical release of the film was 1 year. For example, with Fury Road, it was written in 2003. It was not greenlit and given the okay, we're going to make this film until 2010. And then it wasn't released until 2015. Just a long period of time there. And when I read that, I'm like, yeah, no wonder it's taken 9 years to make another one. And from what I think and what I remember about each of these films, this one certainly was, but I think they were all the original, the first four, they were all really big at the box office. So it's kind of incredible that it takes that length of time, and you kind of got a cash cow going here. But anyways, I love this film. I hope you've seen it before watching this review. Um, if you want to, put in the comments your rating of the Mad Max movies. I haven't seen the fifth one as of yet. As I said, I'm going to go see that. And then I imagine I'll be doing a review for that at some point. It's not going to be real soon because I need to see it, let me digest it a bit, then see it again, and then I'll review it. But as I said, I think this is my favorite Mad Max film, if I'm allowed to say that. But anyways, have yourself an excellent day.